The final piece to this puzzle is going to be creating the sprite that draws the function. Now I went ahead a couple steps here, so hopefully you can follow what I did. I just created a new sprite that was this pencil. You can use anything you want. I know there's a magic wand in there. If that's what you want, it doesn't really matter. But when the pencil comes up, it's kind of big, so you're going to use the shrink button, shrink it down, or the set size thing that we use with button 1 and button 2. Then the one thing I've added to the code already is when the green flag is clicked, I want it to clear. The reason I want it to clear is because this pencil is going to be using the pen that each sprite has inherently, and every time I want the green flag clicked to do a new function, I want it to clear the old function so that we can actually see the graph of the new function. If you were comparing functions, you wouldn't do this, but we're not, so we're going to clear it. So a few times already from the graph button and from one of the other buttons, we use this broadcast draw function. The pencil is going to be one of the sprites that receives this broadcast. So when I receive draw function, now I'm going to show you a way to do this so that it works, and then in the next video I will explain how to create a block to clean this up a bit. It's going to be a lot of redundancies in here. So let's take a look. First of all, when I receive this, I want my sprite to show, and then way at the end, I'm going to have this sprite hide because I only want the pencil to show up when it's doing what it needs to do, when it's graphing the function. Now a couple little things. We're going to set the pen color. It could be anything. I'm going to use this nice orange up here. To change that color, you just click the color, and then anywhere on the screen you find a color that you want, and that's your color. Then we're going to set the pen size to 2, and you can play with that on your own. And then before it does anything, I want the pen to be up when it completes this command. I don't want the pen to be down until the pencil goes where I want it to go, because then we could get some random lines all over. So in order to make this happen, we need 2 new variables. I've also already created these, x and y. Now they're different from x1 and y1 because these x and y are only going to be used in order to tell the pencil where to go, as in to find points on this parabola. So we start by setting our x to 0, and we're going to set y to the y value of the function. Now the y value comes from the equation of the function. If you remember, it's ax squared plus bx plus c. So I'm going to use a lot of operators here. It's basically ax squared is going to go in the first one, plus bx plus c. So we can start filling that out. C is the simplest one. And then the middle is bx. Well, bx is just b times x. So let's put it in times. And it's going to be b times x. And then the most complicated one is the first one. It's a times x squared. Well, that's really a times x times x. So we actually need 3 multiplications happening in there. So I'm going to put 2 operators in. And what that looks like is a times x times x. Now this x value is 0. So it's right in the middle on the x value, and then the y value is the y-intercept. This is where our pencil is going to start. So the first thing I really want my pencil to do is go to this point, x and y, whatever this point is. It's the y-intercept. It's going to calculate it for us so we don't have to. Once it gets to this point, I want the pen to go down. Okay? Then I'm going to have the pencil calculate all the points. So we're going to need a loop. And this loop is going to repeat until the pen, so the pen's going to start on the y-axis and either go up to the top or down to the bottom. So I want this to repeat until the pencil is touching the edge. So you go to sensing category, grab touching, and it's until it's touching the edge. So x right now is 0. I want x to then go to 1, then to 2, then to 3. So I want to set x since we're going up on this one, I want it to be x, whatever x was, plus 1. So the first one, you'll see that it starts at 0, and then it does x plus 1, so it goes to 1. The next one will be 1, so it'll go to 2, and then so on. Now the y point, set y, we want to reset y using the new x value. Well, we just set x, so now we're going to use the same x value to find y, and it's the same equation for y that we used before. Once we get our new x and y, I want the pencil to go to this new point, x and y. Once it's done with this, I want it to do pen up. And let's see what happens. Let's test this. So let's double click just this part, the show, and you'll see that this graph graphs half of the parabola, which is not quite what we want. We want it to graph all of the parabola, and what's happening is this is starting at 0 and adding 1. So if we want it to graph the rest of it, we need to take this whole section here, starting here. I'm going to duplicate it, put it at the bottom, put the height at the bottom, and this whole thing is going to happen again, except it's going to start at 0, and this time I want it to go to the left. So I want this to be x plus -1. Now when I do that and hit graph, I'm going to get at both sides of the parabola. Now the problem with this is, if you're looking at the code, there are a ton of redundancies, and we're going to take care of that in the next video because we are almost there. We almost have the function that we want.